Alright guys, so we have Git installed in Windows, and what I want to do now is create a local repository and show you how to add files and folders to the staging area, how to commit, how to check the status, things like that. Alright, so let's go ahead and create a new folder. I'm going to put it in my projects folder, and we're going to call this my app. Alright, now the contents of the folder or the application, that's not important. What we're focusing on is Git and how to work with repositories. So let's go ahead and right click and say Git bash here, and that'll open up a command prompt right in that folder for us. Alright, now let's open it here as well. Now the first thing you need to do is you need to initialize a Git repository. Alright, so to do that we say git init. Okay, and what that does is it creates a folder called .git, which is a hidden folder. You might have to edit your Windows settings to be able to see it. Alright, now I'm not going to go over the stuff inside. That's not really important. You're never going to touch that. Just know that all your versions, everything you need, is in that folder. If you delete that, then you no longer have a Git repository. Alright, so the next command I want to show you is git status. Alright, and that'll show you what files aren't or are in the staging area that are ready to be committed. Alright, so we see that we have nothing to commit. Okay, nothing's been added to the staging area. To add a file to the staging area, you want to use git add. Alright, so let's go ahead and create a file. And I'm just going to create a file called readme.txt. Alright, and actually, yeah, we'll open that up here. Let me just sort this out a little bit, make it a little neater. Okay, so we have this readme text file, and we'll just say my app. And actually, you know what we'll do is let's say edit 1. Alright, and then we'll just go along and we'll just add to it when we want to change it. So let's go ahead and save. And then if we go over here and we say git status, you'll see that now it says readme.txt in red, and it says that it's an untracked file. Okay, so it hasn't been added to be committed yet. Alright, just know that there's a couple different stages. There's this stage where nothing is in the staging area. Alright, once we put it in the staging area, it'll sit there until we commit it. Alright, and then we can commit it to our repository, and then if we have a remote repository at GitHub or something like that, we can then push to that remote repository as well. Alright, and I'll go through all of that. Now, let's go ahead and add this to the staging area. So we'll say git add, and then the file name, readme.txt. Alright, and now if we go and we say git status, now you'll see that it's in green, and it says changes to be committed. So this file is sitting in the staging area waiting to be committed to the local repository. Now, let's say we haven't committed it yet, and we go and we edit it. Okay, we'll say edit 2, and let's save, and then if we do git status, you'll see that it lists it twice, one in green and one in red. Basically, this is the version of it before we did this edit 2, and this is the current version. Alright, so right now the staging area has the earlier version. Alright, so if we want to update that, we can just again say git add readme.txt. Alright, and then if we do git status, you'll see that it's in green again, and it's the latest version. So now what we want to do is commit this. So we're going to say git commit. Alright, now notice that the whole screen changes when we do a commit. That's because we have to type in a message along with this commit. Alright, and this is basically like a Vim editor, which is kind of complicated, and I'll show you how we can actually skip this step in a minute. Alright, but let's go ahead and we have to press I, and that'll basically put it in insert mode, so we can now type something. Let's just say initial commit. Alright, and then we have to press escape to get out of insert mode, and then we're going to type in :WQ, enter. Alright, and that enters the message, and it makes the commit. Okay, you can see one file changed, and it was committed. So now if we say git status, there's nothing to commit. Okay, the latest version of readme.txt has been committed. All right, now if you want to see a log of your commits, you can say git log. All right, and it shows us the date and time, shows us the user, and it says the message, which is initial commit. Now let's go ahead and edit this again. We'll say edit 3 and save it, and if we say git status, you'll see that it's back in red. All right, it's waiting to be committed. Now I want to show you how we can skip that whole Vim editor step. So let's say we want to add it. We'll say git add, and I want to also show you that we don't have to just add in a file name. We can use wildcards. For instance, if we wanted all text files, we could use the asterisk.txt. All right, now if we want to just add everything that's in there, we can just use a period. So let's do that. That adds everything to the staging. And then what we want to do is say git commit. And instead of just doing git commit, we want to add the M flag here for our message, and then just put the message here. We'll say edit, let's say readme edit 3. All right, and that goes ahead and commits it, okay, without us having to go into that weird screen. And let's say git log, and you can see that we've had 2 commits. All right. Now you may have files that you don't want to be committed to the repository. All right, so a log file is a good example of something you probably don't want. So let's create a file here, and we'll just call it app.log. And let's say git status, and it says app.log here. Now we don't want that to show up, okay, because we don't want that included. We want that ignored. So what we can do is create a .gitignore file, and we can add it. We can add stuff to that we don't want to be found like this. All right. Now the problem in Windows is we can't create a file that doesn't have a name. For instance, let's say new text file, and we'll say .gitignore, okay, and it's not going to let us. It's looking at this as an extension without a file name. So what we can do, if you're in Linux, I don't think you'll have a problem if you're using Linux, but what we can do is go over here and say touch, which is a command that creates a file, and then we'll say .gitignore. All right, and now you can see over here that it did in fact create the file. So let's open that up. I'll just open it with Notepad, and let's say star.log. So that'll basically take every file that has a .log extension. So let's save that and exit out. And now if we say git status, you'll see that the app.log is gone. The gitignore is there, so let's go ahead and commit that, or add that. So we'll say git add gitignore, and then we'll do git commit, and we'll do our message, and we'll just say added ignore file. Okay, so now if we say git status, we should have nothing to commit. Now one more thing, I'm just going to edit this again. We'll say edit 4 and save, and let's go ahead and add it. We'll say git add and say git status. Whoops, what happened? Edit 4, save, git status. All right, so now let's say git add all. Okay, so we have the readme.txt in the staging area. Now if we want to remove it from the staging area, you can see right here, we use git reset head and then the file name. All right, so let's say git reset head and readme.txt. Okay, and that'll take it out. So if we now say git status, you'll see that it's out of the staging area. All right, so I'm just going to add it back and then commit it. Okay, we'll say git commit m. Alright, so now we should have nothing to commit. Alright, so you know how to add and remove from the staging area, commit, initialize your repository, all the basics. Alright, so in the next video, I'm going to show you how we can use branches, how we can separate into a new branch, develop, and then merge it into the master.